Hi guys, welcome back and now in this lecture let's go forward and talk about the collection loops in the PowerPoint. So now this is a very important thing because after this lecture uh, we will be done with all the PowerPoint object, the classes which one must know in order to automate the PowerPoint, the task. So afterwards, after this lecture, I will be going to show you the projects which I have created for my client, and so they are actually the questions also. Some of those videos will are those the projects which my student actually they were working on it and they needed my help. So I'm going to show you all that. But before we do that, before we directly jump on to the live projects of the PowerPoint, we like to cover one more topic which is very important, that how to basically run the loops in the this PowerPoint. So what I'm saying is that suppose you have here this demo. Now, if you look at this in this PPT, as I said, as I mentioned in my previous the chapters also, the lectures, that basically the hierarchy works like first you have a PowerPoint application, and then you have the presentation, and in the presentation you have all these slides, right? But we haven't really talked about the shapes, right? Now in PPT, when you go and paste any chart or when you go and paste anything, in the form of, let's say, a table or text box, whatever, as you can see here, these are all called the shapes. Okay, this is a part of my this the slide, right? Because this comes in the slide. If you do not have a slide created, you cannot go and paste all these different shapes, right? So every slide has, you can see some charts. I won't say chart because it could be anything, right? Basically these are called these all the charts, or when you go and paste some Excel range, table range, or maybe you write some sort of something in the text box, they are all falling under the category called shapes. Okay, so you should know that if you have to see how many shapes we have inserted here, like this is the first shape, this is the second one, this is the third one, then you should be able to run it. You should be able to make it a loop. And then if you want to check that how many shapes you have in the each slide, then you should be able to run a loop which can take you to loop through all the slides one by one. And before you go from one slide to the another slide, it further goes and checks that how many shapes you have inserted per slide in each slide. So this is going to be a fantastic thing. And remember, after doing this, you will be directly put on the project. So those are very pretty long project. I have I'm going to upload a video. It is going to be 60 minutes of video, right? So there we will be going to use all these skills. So better, before we go and do that, you should be very much thorough with all these basic concepts. Okay, so let's go and try to do this. I insert the module here, and I'm going to give it a name. So let's go and give it a name called collection loops, right? Collection loops. Okay, so like we have the collection loop in the Excel when we talk about the worksheets. For each worksheet in worksheets, for each workbook in workbooks, we have a collection loop in charts also. For each chart object in chart objects, for each pivot table in the pivot tables, and for each file in folder dot files. I mean, collection loops are endless, right? So same way you have a collection loop here also, which helps us in looping through the these PowerPoint slides and the shapes inside it. So the first thing which we will do, as usual, I'm going to use the early binding method here. So I go and click on this library PowerPoint 16.0 because I'm using Office 16.0. As simple as that, right? If you have a different version, just make sure you use activate this PowerPoint library, and your version will be different obviously, because if you are using, let's say, 2013, then this is going to be 15.0, and if you're using 2010, this is going to be 14.0, and then 12.0, and then so on, right? 13.0 does not exist because it is considered as unlucky number. So the first thing which I will do here is, as usual, we will go and create a macro where we will go and write the PowerPoint. We will declare the PowerPoint object. So the first thing, as I said previously also, this time I will not repeat this. I will not get into the in-depth of this because we have already done this in the previous two videos. First, you create your PowerPoint object like this. PowerPoint.application, right? Because you have activated the library, so this dot is going to work for you. So new PowerPoint.application, then we will make it visible. Okay, Now in this case you need to understand, because if I have to check how many slides I have got, if I have to check how many shapes we have got, obviously that means it is going to be an existing PPT which is already created. You can't run this loop, I mean, on the blank PowerPoint, isn't it? So the first thing which you need to do here is, this is my demo PPT I have created for you, and I'm just going to close this. You got to open this first of all. Okay, so how we can go and open this, the PPT? So go to your PPT. This is my PPT. As you can see, I have saved it on my desktop. Just go and right click, go to the properties, click on the security, and in the security just copy this entire thing. So when I go and control C it, I come back here and now I'm going to open it. So you open this with your PPT, which is your PowerPoint application, presentations.open. This is how you open it, right? Now if you guys know the Excel VBA, obviously that's why you are learning this connectivity part, which comes in the end of the VBA. If you go and join a VBA training, then these are the connectivity, these topics like connecting Outlook, connecting Access, connecting PowerPoint, MS Word. These are the topics which people do in the last, because they are the toughest and they are the most advanced, the lectures. So obviously, when we use this dot open, we also, use this dot open method in the workbooks.open to open the Excel. The same way, just go and remember that when you have to open any presentation, any PPT, PowerPoint, using the Excel VBA, you just go and use the presentations.open and then just go and control V, the complete path, and that's how your PPT will get opened. Okay, so the first thing which I would like to do here is, I would like to show you that if it is working or not. So invalid user property, I beg your pardon, visible property has to be made equals to true. So just go and write here true. Okay, and now I go and run this. You can choose MSOC true as well, that's okay, there will be no difference. So now I'm running this code, and finally when I run this, you see that I have a blank PPT, and now on this blank PPT I will have this presentation activated. Okay, forget about that, the prompt which came, that's basically something else. But anyways, you have the PPT open. Now what we would like to do here is, once I have my PPT open, I would like to go and run the loop which can cover all the slides, and then in the slides, obviously why I'm going to loop through all the slides, because I want to check how many shapes we have got in there, right? So here I just go and reset the code. Once you have got the PPT open, before you get the PPT open, or maybe after the PPT, that's all up to you. Okay, what you need to do is, you need to define your presentation and the shapes, okay, and the slides. So as usual, like we do, ppress is a object variable. I'm going to create it, and this is going to be my presentation. Now set ppress equals to, this is going to be what now? Now guys, you saw my previous lectures there. What we used to do is, we used to say that, all right, so we need to use this presentations dot add, isn't it? This is how I defined the presentation, but that was for the new PPT, that was for the new PowerPoint. Okay, this is already existing. So existing PowerPoint application obviously will have the presentation. You are not supposed to add any new presentation. So this line will now work like this. You're going to say that PPT dot and then active presentation. Okay, this is what you say, because you're working on the existing PowerPoint. So now the next thing which we will do is, once we have said that this is going to be the active presentation, we will go and define our slide. So for that, I'm going to create the P slide, as we learned previously also. So I go and use this slide. Okay, now here the thing is, because you're going to loop through all the slides, so you don't have to use the set word, because you go and write this P slide equals to something. Like when you go and say that, generally how we define it, we say that the P slide is going to be the slide number 1 or slide number 2 or the slide number 3, and this is how you write. Then you go and just give the slides the index, isn't it? But the thing is, here I don't want to write 2 or 3, because I have to cover all my slides, and my slides are going to change one by one, right? So for that, we are going to use the collection loop, and we're going to write here for each of my P slide, which means my slide in. Now you know that guys, the slides are a part of your presentation, isn't it? Because slides comes in the presentation. So presentation is ppress. So you just go and write here ppress dot slides. This is how we write the collection loop. If you guys know collection loop, then you know what I'm talking about, right? I'm not just talking about this collection loop, the PowerPoint collection loop, but otherwise also, if you are familiar with the collection loops, then you know we always start the collection loop with the for each word, right? So now in this way, what we can do is we can go and check whether this is working or not. So I'm going to say that p slide dot, let's say the name of the slide. So when I go and run this command, let's go and check that, right? So this, the PPT is going to be open again, though I have already got it open, but that's fine. Let it reopen, and now there we go. So you see that first you got the name of your first slide, and then you got the name of your second slide, and then are going to see the name of the third slide, right? So in this way, guys, you can run this loop, which can loop through all these slides one by one. And obviously, when you use the collection loop, the purpose of the collection loop is not just to retrieve the name of the slides. You can do very powerful things here. For example, you can delete some specific slides. You can say that out of the 50 slides, if the slide number is going to be, if the slide name is, let's say, a slide 4 or slide 7, then just delete that. Or maybe you want to randomly go to some slide, and you can do that. For example, I just go and create a copy of this. Let me Control C and Control V. Now this is my slide number 4, okay, and I once again copy it, and I just go and save this. So let me don't save, because that slide was open on the read only mode. So now you see that you have got here 5 slides. Now what we would like to do here is, in this slide, when I open this program, let's say I want to go and delete the slide number 3 and 5. Okay, so I just close this, save this. Now here what you're going to write here is that if your the slide number, if you're the slide, let's say the slide name, you can write here the slide, or you can also go and use the another properties, like you can go and use the index as well, that what is the index of the slide. But I just go and say that if my slide number is going to be, let's say, the slide number 3, or if my slide number p slide dot name, if the name of the slide is going to be slide 4, then I just go and delete that, right? So simply say that, then what you need to do, you just go and delete that. So you say that slide dot delete, or first you can go and select that, and afterwards you go and delete that. So we just go and write here delete, okay? And if it is not the case, then I simply go and say else and if. Don't do anything, okay? So I put the break code here, guys. Let's quickly run this. So let's wait for this PowerPoint to get open, and then we are going to see that. Okay, so once we have this PowerPoint, let's go and check that. So this message box should be removed from here, but that's okay. Let's keep it as it is for the time being. So this is a slide 1. Now you need to remember one thing, that in the Excel VBA, the if functions are case sensitive, okay, as I explained in the beginner tutorials also. But just in case if you are watching this this series, and so I'm just telling you, maybe you know it, maybe you don't know it, but remember, if functions in VBA are case sensitive, okay, as on date when I'm recording this video, and I'm using the latest Excel version 2016, right? So what happens, this slide 1 has to go here in the same way. I mean, you should not go and write that in the upper letters, okay, or in the capital letters, or change the style of this has to be like this, the first alphabet capital and then all small, right? So that's why I have written this slide 3 and slide 4. So let's go and check that. Now obviously this is not my slide 3 or slide 4, so they should go and bypass it. And then again I have another slide, which is the slide number 4 now. So slide number 4 is also, this is not there, so I just go and go forward, and now I'm going to have another slide number. So I have another slide number 5, and this if now should go in the then area, right? Because my p slide is now slide 5, which is equals to this. So it should go here and it should select the slide number 5. So keep your eyes here, okay? This code should select this the slide number 5. So when I run this, okay, now you can see that what happened, this slide is selected, right? Now many of you must be wondering, can you see that first of all, this is selected, right? This is highlighted. The border of the outline, this, of the other slides, they are not highlighted. Now, please, I hope this is clear to you that the VBA is not following these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the numbers, right? Basically, what we did is, in front of you, I created some slides, right? Extra slides, I mean. So when I created some extra slides and deleted also some of the slides, so what happened? The index actually the slides which was deleted, they actually now are not going to come back. So when you run this basically the slide 5 is this one. So don't go by this number. This slide has a name called slide 5 and it has nothing to do with the index. Okay, so finally this should be deleted. Let's go and check that. So I go and run this and you can see here that this is gone. Okay, now the second time when I run this, so what is the another slide? So the next slide is slide number 3. So this is now going to select the slide number 3. So let's say which slide is going to be selected. So when I run this, you see that this becomes the slide number 3. Okay, because this is the name of the slide. Again, I'm repeating, this has nothing to do with your index. So this way the entire process happens, and this way you will have all the slides coming your way. Right now, let's say you don't want to delete that and now you want to check the slide name. So obviously this is not going to show you as 1 2 3 because we are talking about the name of the slides, we are not talking about the index, right? So I just go and save this and I reopen this, and let's go and see that how the names of the slides are going to come. Are they going to come as slide 1, slide 2, slide 3, or they would be something else? So the first slide is slide 1, and then you have the slide 4, which is the name of the slide 4, and then you have the slide 2. Okay, so that's how, guys, what happened when I copied these, when I created the copies of these slides. Basically the name of the slides, they got interchanged. Okay, but now there are two ways. One is you first go and note it down your slide names and accordingly program the things. If you want to just go and run this using the index, now let's say I go and copy this and paste again the slides. Now let's say you don't want to go by the slide number, the slide name. You just want to say that this is going to be the second slide, right? I do not know the name of this slide, but I just want to delete it, and I want to delete the 4th slide as well. Let's say this is something you want to do. Then how are you going to do that? So let's go and check that. So I just go and save this again. So we are having a good practice here. So when you talk about the indexes, what you need to do is you just go and put here the message box and you write here the P slide, which is my slide, and then we will go and say that slide index. So this is the property we are going to use. Now I'm not going to comment out this one so that we can see the name of the slides as well as the index. Right now index is always going to be 1 2 3 4 5, and it will go till the time you're not on the last slide, guys. Okay, so let's go and run this quickly. So I will have the slide names, which are going to be obviously not in the properly, they're not going to be alphabetically, but the index should be alphabetically. So as you can see, I have my slide 1 name coming. Now let us go and check the index of this. This is my actually the slide 1, and this definitely should give me 1. Right, okay, so we got it. Great. Now the second slide, let's go and check the name of that slide. So you can see this is the slide 4, and this is the slide 4 basically. Okay, and this must have an index 2. So let's go and check that. So you can see that we have got the slide 2, and then the index number 3, and then slide 5, index number 4, and finally the slide 6, which is this one, and then this is the index number 5. So indexes are always going to be the way you see here 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, but the name can be different. So obviously, guys, now what you can do is you can just go and put here the if slide dot index equals to 1 or 2, and the things will work for you, right? Isn't it? So I quickly go and just copy this line and I go and paste it here, and instead of this the name, let's go and use the slide index. Okay, so if let's say the slide index number is I want to delete 2 and I want to delete the 4. Okay, if that is the case, then I would like to go and delete this. Okay, this is how it is, and similarly you just copy this and paste this here. Okay, so I go and save this code, and let's go and run the code again. So I close this and let me quickly go and run this. Okay, or maybe if we just go and put the break code here. So slide number 2 and 4 should be deleted, and at the end of the day we should have only 3 slides left, right? So let's go and run this. So there we go. So the first one obviously is the slide number 1, so we are in the else mode, and now the second index is going to be qualified, so it is going to select my the slide. So let's go and do that. So you can see here it has selected the second slide, right? So we go and delete this. Fantastic. Now you go and run this again. So what is the slide index now? The slide index, let's go and check that. It is going to be 3, which is not 2 or 4. So else, and then this is now the slide number 4. So 4 is going to be selected. So finally you have the 4 selected, and this is going to be deleted. So simple, guys, right? And your loop is done. right? So these all things we are going to use in the coming time. Now this is all about the looping. This is all about the looping through the slides. But what if you want to loop inside the slides where you have these all table or the text boxes or the charts, pasted? Then what about that thing? So let's go and copy this entire code, and let's just go and cover this as well, because then we will be done with this, the collection loop. Okay, and we will start then the project. So this is very simple. So I'm going to say that shapes and so loop slides and shapes 2. Okay. Now you see that, guys. Once I'm able to run my this loop where I'm going in the slide one by one. Now before I jump on to the next slide, I want to make sure that I should be able to check all these different shapes, chart shape or rectangular box or oval shape, whatever it is there. So what we're going to do is, where you have defined your slide, in the next line you go and define your shape, because shape always is going to be defined after the slide. Okay, so we go and say that dim p shape as. Now we're going to use the shape class. This is how you write it, shape class. Okay, now once you have done that, now here what I'm going to do is I'm going to write one more loop. Now you see what happens. Inside this, for each p slide I write one more collection loop, which is for each p shape. Now p shape is my single shape, but you're looking for the shapes. So where are those shapes created? Obviously those shapes are a part of your slide. That's how the hierarchy goes. You have a present PowerPoint application, the biggest object, and then there afterwards you have the presentation, and then in the presentation you have slides, and then the slides you finally have the shapes, isn't it? So when you go and write here that the p slide dot shapes, that's how you go and write the collection loop of the shapes. Okay, so now if I have to check how many shapes I have got, so let's go and put the message box and say that what is the name of that shape. So this is how, when you go and run this code, so we will have all the shapes loop through. So I go and hit on the F5. Okay, so you see that you're actually writing here a loop in the loop. Okay, a collection loop inside the collection loop. Okay, so now first we will target the first slide, whatever it is. You don't have to worry about it, because for each p slide is going to take care of it. Now this loop will run through this piece, this slide, the first slide. Okay, it's gonna pick up the first slide because it is a for each loop. You don't have to guide these collection loops from where to start. They always start from the first object. So now here I think if I just click here, I have 3 shapes, isn't it? One is this one, and this is the one, and this is the one. So let's go and check that. Okay, so what I do is I just go and decrease the width of this. Okay, so let's go and run this. So let's see what is the first shape. Okay, so there we go, the title one. It must be, I think, this one. This is the title one shape. Okay, then do we have any other shape? Yes, we have. That's why the loop is still going. And now we have the chart 3. So this chart 3, obviously this is my chart name, right, which I have pasted from Excel. And then the third one is the picture 1. So picture 1 must be this one, right? So I don't think so. Now this loop should further go. This should get out of it, right? So let's go and run this. There we go. Fantastic, guys. Now the time has come to go to the next slide, because this is the bigger loop, right? We haven't finished yet with the slides. Now this should go to the next slide. Okay, so in the next slide, now let's go and check that. So in the next slide, you can see here I have got here 4 charts. Okay, so let's go and check that. Okay, so there's a chart 8. This is the name of the chart, right? So I've got the first chart, and then I got the second chart, and then I got the third chart, and then I got the fourth chart. So once I'm done with this, what is next? Finish. Let's go to the next slide now. So in the next slide, I have got only 2 charts, as you can see here, right? There are only 2 charts, and one basically is this, the something which is in the form of the text. This must be a title, right? So we go and run this. So shape 19 is coming there, right? Now I have to check what is it. So I go and select this 3. Okay, so this so we have got maybe this one is considered as shape. I'm not sure about that, but let's go and run this, and let's go and check that. Okay, so we got the chart 8, right? I run this again. So finally we are done. So you see we saw 3 pop-ups. So these 3 pop-ups are for this. Okay, so let's go and run this again. Now let me click on this and let me find it out how many shapes we have got in this slide. So again 3. Okay, now this is I'm selecting just to make sure that you understand what we are doing. Okay, otherwise you don't have to select these slides in order to run these loops. They automatically go to the next slide, and then from the next slide to the next slide, before they go, they loop through all the shapes. So again I'm going to see 3 boxes. The first box comes, now the second is coming, shape, and then the third one. Now we should get, we should exit from this. Yes, fantastic. So now I go and run this on the F5 mode, since you have seen all the things. So chart 3, shape 19, chart 8, and that's it, guys. Right? So this is how you work with the shapes, right? So you know what, this is a very powerful thing, because using this you can control your shapes inside the PowerPoint, the existing PowerPoint. For example, let's say if somebody says that you have to delete all the charts, of this slide. Okay, and rest of the material should remain there as it is. For example, in this slide or in this slide, they say that if something is entered there as a chart, just delete that, and rest of the things you need to just keep it as it is, right? So now doing this manually obviously is going to take a lot of time, so you can use this loop. So what you can do is you can simply say that if my shape is going to be chart, then just go and delete it. So let's go and check that how we can do this. So I go and first of all close this PPT. Okay, now what we will do is I keep this message box. Now I'll comment it out, and we see that if the shape, now shape has one the property which is type. So when you say that if the shape is going to be, let's say, this chart one, okay, so you can use, guys, all these different the properties. Well, if you are talking about the table or text box, or there are so many things, right? The picture is as a picture as well. So I say that if the shape is the chart, what I want to do is then I want to actually delete it. So you can use the delete as well. Okay, now when I go and use the delete, so same way you can do lot of other things as well. For example, what if you want to copy these charts and paste it in the some blank slide, isn't it? Well, that is also something you can do it with this. So as I said, that basically your fundamentals should be strong, because I really can't imagine what sort of situations you guys will have. However, whenever I get some review from my students, from you, or maybe in the form of some question, I get email, I immediately go and try to help you, and I upload the video. So guys, that's what I'm saying. This is how you learn, right? So if your fundamentals are good, just go and do all these things, apply all these principles in your personal projects, and whenever you need my help, you get stuck, I'm here to help you out, right? After all, you have enrolled for my program, so I take this the full proud and the responsibility that I'm going to definitely help you out as much to my best abilities. So now I just go and say that it should be deleted, and before I delete it, I just want to make sure first I should select that as well. Okay, after selecting, I go and delete it. Okay, so that's how this is the PPT is done, the code is done. Now let's go and check that. Okay, so I'm going to quickly run this F5. This is very interesting, right? So first we go here. So the first shape is going to be now this shows you some index, right? But maybe you can put the message box, but that's okay. We will come to know. Let's keep our eye on this slide. Okay, so let's go and run this. So I think the first one is not a chart type. Let's go to the another one. Okay, so now you can see that it found the chart. So when I click on this, let's see what's gonna happen. Can you see that this chart is selected, guys? So if I go and delete this, fantastic, wonderful. How easy it is now for us to manipulate, to have a control on this PowerPoint. Why? Because we started from the scratch, because we learned the hierarchy, because we learned that what is PowerPoint dot application means, what is PowerPoint dot presentation means, what is PowerPoint dot slide means, what is the PowerPoint dot shape mean, what are all these classes. So when you know any the object hierarchy and the classes used in any of the application, then it is so easy to connect with those applications and to have a control using the Excel VBA, right? And this is what actually I teach in my other connectivity part also, where I go and connect the Outlook or Access and so on, right? Okay, so let's go and check that now. So there is another thing now. Let's go and see that. So I think in the second slide we have got everything, the charts. You can see here in the second slide we have got all the charts, so it should select one by one all these charts, right? Now the shape, the invalid request, to select a shape, its view must be active. Now I always say in my tutorials that unless until you're not genius in knowing the, you know, the errors, the cause of the errors, you cannot be a good programmer. Now this is something, I'm recording the video live and I haven't prepared any script. Now immediately this error comes. Now I know what this means because I understand the errors, and that's what I always, you know, recommend, suggest to my students also, that please do not avoid the errors. If the errors are coming, try to understand the concept rather than going in the Google and, you know, changing the entire code again, writing the code from the scratch. Okay, now this says that it clearly says that I do not know that shape, and the reason is it further goes and say to select a shape its view must be active. So the thing is, I think what it says that you're not on this slide. If you're not on this slide, I will not be able to select this P shape for you. So no problem. So what I do is I simply go and say here, okay, so let's go and select that, you know, the P slide. Okay, so I go and write here the P slide, P slide dot select, and this, because this is coming under the collection loop, so obviously when I run this, my slide has to be the second slide. As you can see here, I got the second slide selected. Now once I have done that, now this should not mind selecting the shape. So let's go and check that. There we go. Can you see that, guys? This is selected. Fantastic, right? So I'm glad that this error came. Okay, because you now know one more thing. Okay, so this is, I think all the shapes are going to be deleted. So there we go. So you can see here everything is done. Let's go and minimize this. Okay, so now I think I just go and put the code over here. Okay, all right, so let's go and run this again. There we go. So this is now my another slide. Now I'm wondering that why these two, the charts are left out, because now it immediately jumped to the, you know, the third slide. So we will come back and see what's wrong with this, right? So you go and delete this. Okay, this is good. Next shape is also selected. I think it's going to select this. So you can see it is selected. Finally we are done. Let's go and select the another slide. There we go. So I am now on the another slide, and here also this is going to be deleted, and then the another one is going to be deleted. So we are done with this. So again the next slide is going to be selected. So this is also going to be deleted, and this is also going to be deleted. Now what happened, guys? Why we are not able to delete these charts? Are they not chart? Well, I'm not sure about that, right? It may be possible that they are not the charts, but let's go and check that. So I'm gonna check that. I just simply first of all say don't save. Okay, so we go and reopen this, and this message box I'll put it so that we should be knowing that actually if they were the charts or not. If they were not the charts, then we are fine with that, right? Then there's no need. So let's go and save this code, and I go and quickly run this, hit on the F5. So we have got everything here. So I quickly run this. So the first one is the title one, no problem. It should go in the else. Then we have the chart 3. So in the chart 3 we have this. It is selecting and it is deleting. And then finally we go, you know, the chart 8. So there we go. So I'm on the next slide. The first one is totally empty. And I further just go and, you know, keep the code like this. So you can see that what's happening here. Okay, so let's go and run this. Okay, so now the first chart is selected, delete it, great. The second one is, this is also chart 5, so let's go and select that. Let's go and check that. So this is the one. Okay, nice. Now you see this, there's something wrong here. Now it is not actually going and looping through the other shapes. Ideally it should have selected this. It immediately came out of this. Now it will go in the next slide, which is very wrong. Now you go in the chart 3, and in the chart 3 now you go and, you know, select that, this one, the slide end. So this slide actually is left out. Now you guys need to pay very attention over here. What I'm going to tell you is, this is very, very important. please understand this, right? It's a very important concept which is we should know when we use the collection loops, right? Now the thing is, why these two the shapes are not deleted, because of the reason that I'm right now talking about the collection loops in the PowerPoint only. Okay, now guys, what happened when you go and use the delete method in the collection loop? I'm specifically talking about the delete only, because previously you saw that when we wanted to get the message box, when we wanted to select the shapes, there was no problem in that, right? Collection loops are wonderful and they work like magic, right? But when you are supposed to you delete an object using the collection loop, you may find yourself in a weird situation, like in this situation where it's actually avoiding these two charts, right? What is the reason for that? The reason is very simple. When you go and say that you want to actually go and capture all the shapes one by one, so what happens, the moment the first chart gets deleted, the overall count, which was 4, it now remains only 3, right? The moment you delete the second chart, the overall count then remained 2. So what happened, because of the object deletion, the indexes of all these charts are going to reduced. So if I have 4 charts and the index of the 4 chart is obviously going to be 4, then what happens when you go and delete one chart, that fourth index is going to be 3. And similarly, when you go and delete the second chart, then the fourth index of this chart is going to be 3. And similarly, this which was third index, it's gonna be first index. And collection loop always starts from the first index, but eventually when you have deleted some items, so the loop, when the loop is going to work, it's going to completely ignore this, because this is already the first index is already covered in that collection loop when we actually deleted the first shape, right? Are you getting my point? So when this line actually, so when you get into this loop the first time, the collection loop checks, because the next P shape is doing what? You are not here pushing the collection loop to go and select the second shape by giving some kind of a indexing. You can see we have not written anywhere that you have to go and select the first shape, second shape, third shape. This is the job of the collection loop. This is the job of this next shape, that it automatically takes you to the second shape and then third shape and then the fourth shape. But due to the deletion of first shape, what happens, the second shape becomes the first shape. And if it becomes the first shape, this for each loop has already run it the first time. It had already run for the first shape, so it's going to completely ignore the second shape, which is now the first shape, due to the deletion of the first shape, the original shape. Okay, and similarly when you go and delete the second shape, then the third shape becomes the second, the third shape again becomes the first shape. And because the loop actually had already covered the first shape, the second shape, it's going to completely ignore that as well. So this is the reason. So whenever you go and delete something in the collection loops, in this the PowerPoint collection loop, you may face these kind of a problems. So to avoid this, in the deletion scenario, you got to change your loop. In that case, what you have to do, I just go and reset the code, and of course I will not overwrite here. I'll simply just go and keep this as it is, and I create a copy of this. Okay, so this is, we are doing only for the scenarios we are deleting something. Otherwise you can use the collection loops. So now in this specific case where I have to delete something, I go and paste the code here, and we'll do some changes over here. Shape 2, and this is we go and write the deletion. Okay, so now here guys, what we are going to do, the one thing is sure that I have to go to every slide one by one. Okay, and by the way, I go and delete this. Okay, I just close this, sorry, don't save. Now here, this for each shape in the shapes, this is not gonna work in case of delete. So what you need to do, you have to remove this line. Instead of this line, what you're supposed to use, you're supposed to use the total number of the shapes you have and then go in the reverse direction. So that, let's say when you are on the first slide, you count there are 4 shapes. Now from the 4 you have to go to 3, 2, 1 instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, because once you will start in the reverse order, this problem will be sorted out. This is what we are going to do here. Okay, so first we will start with the highest index. So what you're going to do here in this particular case is, I simply go and use the the loop which returns me the number of the shapes which I have got, and then we will start decrementing it. We will start going in the backward direction. Okay, so for, let's say I go and declare here the variable I, so we're going to use the for next loop. Okay, we will not use the for each loop here. So for I equals to your, which is slide dot, because slide is the present, the slide which is going to be active at that point in time, because this for each will loop through the slides one by one. So I go and say that in my that particular slide which is going to be active, the total number of the shapes, let's go and count it. Okay, and then start doing in the calculation in the reverse order. So we're going to say that from the shapes total count, let's say you have 4 shapes, so it is going to work 4 to 1. Okay, so when you go and write this in the reverse order, you always write step -1. I hope you know this thing, right? This we did a lot in our for next chapter, the loops, right? So just go and remove this particular part here and next time. So in this way now I can go and delete my all the the charts, because this is going to now be specific. This is not a situation where you're, due to some deletion, the index of the shape is changing, because this is specific, this is static, this says that 3 to 1, 4 to 1, 10 to 1, or whatever. So let's go and check that. So I'm just going to quickly run the code here again, and before I do that I must declare the I as well, I as long. Okay, so that's how your code is. I hope you're getting a lot of information today here. So let's quickly run this and let's open the PPT. Okay, so finally I have the PPT. Now you see that the first time when I am running this, my P slide is telling me that there are actually the 3 shapes it found. Okay, so if you go to this slide, I think we have here, if I just go and show you, this is the first, this is the second, and this is the third one. So this is great, right? Now I hope this is clear to you that this P slide is always going to change, because it is a part of this collection loop. So this is a generic P slide. This is not a slide number 1 or 2 or 3, right? When this loop starts, the first time when this runs, this automatically captures this one. Okay, so we will go and check this. Okay, now obviously this is the error which we are going to get here, because we have removed the for each shape in the the slide dot shapes loop. Because of that it is not able to find out the shape, and that's why it says that you haven't declared the shape object using the set word, right? Because guys, whenever we go and declare any object, like here we are declaring, if my code finds out that this P shape is somewhere I'm using, but I haven't defined it using the set word, like we have used here the set word, obviously it will throw the error. Now the point is, I used actually this previously because this was the part of collection loop, which was for each shape in slides dot shape, and there you need not to write the set word, because it is P shape is automatically, once we run that collection loop, it is going to be a part of that, right? So P shape is always recognized by the VBA. Like in this case, if you have defined P slide, I have not defined anywhere that what is my P slide going to be. So I have not written here set word like I'm using this set word over here. The reason is because P slide is going to be a part of for each loop, and this for each will know that once we will initiate this loop that which slide actually it has to work with. But now here we have not written that for each shape in the P slide dot shape. So that's why this line will give you the error, because this is not defined. By the way, I do not even need this now, because now I'm not interested in P shape dot name, but instead of that, what I'm supposed to do is I'm actually supposed to use the index of this shape. Okay, so what we will do here is that you simply just go and start the bracket. Okay, and in this bracket what you got to write here is first you remove this, you say that the P slide, which is the current slide, in there we have so many shapes, but in that shape I want to target the shape number called I. Now I is going to come from here. Okay, so if I have counted that in my particular presentation, in my particular slide I have got 3 shapes, so obviously that means I want to first go to the third shape, then the second shape, and then that first shape, and then this is how I will delete it, isn't it? So this is the same thing happening here. Now I already know that my index of the shape is going to be, the first time it is going to be 3. Okay, so you don't basically need this message box as well, because I'm not interested in getting the information, I simply want to delete it. Okay, so we simply go and say that if the type of this shape is going to be MSO chart, then it should be deleted. So what you do is you go and write here P slide, and then the shape, and whatever the shape you have got, that is going to be decided by the 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 variable. So if the type of that is going to be chart, let's go and delete that. Okay, so this is how it is going to work. Now if I go and run this, let's go and check that. Okay, so the first one is not okay. The second one, if I go and run this, it should now come, and we are in there. So now this is again going to, so first I'm going to select my slide. Once I have selected my slide, you again got to, what you need to do is you simply need to just go and copy this, and you just go and paste it here, and you say that I want to select you, right? And then further over here you just need to delete that. So you just go and write here delete, right? Because guys, we are now taking the help from the index rather than using this p shape. So this p shape you can remove as well, because now this is not going to be used. We declared this object previously because we wanted to run the for each shape in slides dot shape, in the collection loop. But now we saw that collection loop is not a good idea when you are supposed to delete something. So this object we are not using. So the p shape can be referred using the slide as well, using the p slide class as well. So there are different ways of doing the things, right? So this I is now going to be selected. So the moment I run this, you see that in the background this is selected and this is going to be removed. Fantastic. Now let's go to the next thing. So now it finds something, it is not there, so there's nothing here. You can see there's no chart here, so it should go to the next now slide. So now the next slide, the value of the I is now going to be, you can see here the value of I is going to be, let me go and check that, it's 4, right? 4 to 1 it has to go. So the moment I run this, let's go and check that what is the final value of the I. So this is what now you have got, the value of the I is 4, because the next slide actually has 4. Okay, so now let's go and check that. So I completely go and you can see here I'm on this slide, and now it is going to select all my shapes one by one, and it is going to delete it. You keep your eyes here, this is deleting. Okay, 4 times it is supposed to run. So there we go. You see that it's removing everything. Fantastic. And the loop is still going on. Previously at this point in time we got out of the loop, right? So this is how we are making it sure that the loop should work. Okay, so finally we are done with this. We are now on the another slide, and here we go and select the shape if it is a chart, and it is going to be removed. So there we go. We have here only one chart, so now this is going to be selected, removed. Let's go to the next slide. So now the next slide comes, and I'm going to select that slide. There we go. Again the same thing is going to be repeated. Finally you have your chart removed. Great. And then this entire thing is going to run. Let me quickly run. Let me press F5. Yes, there we go. So guys, if I go back to my this, you see that I got here my this, this whatever it is, the text, it is not deleted. Here we didn't have any text written, we just had the charts. So all the charts are removed, and here we got this shape as well, this shape as well, right? So can you see that this is a wonderful knowledge for you? Okay, because of the reason, not because I'm telling you, but because of the fact that, I mean, even if you Google or maybe you come across this thing from somebody, the point is, when you know so many things, you can fully exploit, you can fully control these applications, right? Because application is always, as I say, that it's a part of different objects. So if you know how to control those objects, you can then control them pretty well. And if you can control all these objects using their methods and the properties, obviously you can make the dynamic codes. In that case, you don't have to go to the Google. You can imagine, you can make your own roadmap. Okay guys, so this is all about the collection loop.